What's up, everybody? This is Eric, your weekend aquarist, and I want to show you my, I guess, favorite fish tank. My most prized fish tank to me. It's a particular fish that I looked for probably 8 years, and I finally found them. And then there's a story that disaster struck. But let me show you the tank. So this is the tank. It's Pseudotropheus Saulosi. Most of you may know it's endangered in the wild. Pretty much the hobbyist is what's keeping it around. When I first started keeping African cichlids, I came across this fish on a website somewhere. I can't remember the name of the site. And I was like, I have to have that fish. I just like the way it looked and everything. So I looked around. This was before you could buy fish on the internet. Well, at least the best of my knowledge, there's probably only a couple sites, and no one seemed to sell this particular fish. Little did I know then, I don't even know if it was endangered at that point. But I did come across a couple fish at a local fish store one time. I want to say about 12 years ago. I bought 3, but this is still relatively new in my fish keeping hobby. So this was probably 11 years ago, maybe a little longer. I can't remember. I don't remember exact timeline anymore. They lived for a couple months, and I think they just became too stressed out because I was moving from college and back home, and then all that deal. So they didn't make it, and then it took me until about last spring of 2016, and I came across a website that was selling these, and I was like, I'm going in. I'm getting one. So I bought a trio, which somehow I got so lucky it was 1 male and 2 females. And then they produced 2 batches for me. This is, I guess, half, because I was doing a water change and I got distracted and I forgot to put the chlorinator in, and I killed half of the colony. That was probably, at now, one of the worst days in my fish hobby. The next worst day was I had to move some stuff around because I used to keep the parents in this 29 gallon, and I need to take the 29 gallon to make room for another tank. So I moved the parents, the trio, into my main Mabuna tank, and I had something going on in there like shortly after that where I had a bunch of fish die. I don't know if it was bloat or what. It just kind of threw me for a loop. I was ready to just quit at that point, because I think I lost like 10 or so Mabuna, and some of them were not your more readily available. So this is kind of like my tank that I'm most careful with now because of everything that's happened, and the fact that I can't always find I'd have to order this fish again from the same site, and I'm just kind of trying to grow these out, and then I'll probably eventually get some more and introduce a new set of males and females to counteract the inbreeding. But as you can see, it's a species only tank, just a Saulosi. I'm running sponge filtration on this now. I did have a canister. It was a Sun, but one of my Sun started leaking, and I happened to drop the one that was on this tank. And I was afraid it was going to start leaking, so I cycled some sponge filters and stuck them in here. And it's been running on the sponge filters, which has been doing pretty good. Now you'll notice there's a bunch of algae on the glass. I run a Beamswork light on this, Beamswork LED, and it might just be a little too much, so there's algae everywhere. The fish pick at it on the rocks. As you can see, there's like, it's like spotty in some places. I have tried putting nearite snails and bristlenose in here, and these guys will have nothing to do with it. They killed the snails in less than half an hour. Like, snails are moving around, and then next thing you know, no snail in the shell. The bristlenose lasted a couple days, and I think they just harassed them to no end, and that was that. So there's algae on the glass. I have one of those mag floats I run by every once in a while, but I gotta get in there by hand and scrub down here, down low, where you can see there's algae down here, and the mag float will get sand up in there and all that. This tank, I do about, we'll say 40% once a week, once every other week. It depends on the schedule. I do all the tanks at the same time. It's easier that way. I run an Eheim heater in here. From now on, I'll never buy probably another heater, another brand. I've had problems with other ones, but that's a story for another day. So far, I have these plants in here, as you can see, some Anubias and some Java Fern. And there's an Anubias that looks like it might be, I don't know if that's a leaf that came off, and it's over here, if you can see. The Java, yeah. I might have pulled off this main plant here. Started growing over there too. For the most part, they don't pick at it. It was just, I got into a plant kick a couple months ago. So I looked up what kind of plants I could put in here, maybe counteract. As you can see, I have some Rotala floating up here. Like, I have Rotala out coming out of my ears at this point, but I'm planting another tank here shortly, so I'm going to use that. But I'm floating it, so I don't have to throw it away. It's floating in a couple tanks, actually. Let's see. It's just a basic pole filter sand, and I have a shell back there that when they were juveniles they would hang out in there, but now they're more like they'll follow my hand around like they think I have food. So they're very personable, as most African cichlids are. Well, they're personable for me. If someone else comes into the fish room, they just go hide. Like my fiance, my wife, whatever you want to call her, if she comes in, they all go and hide. All my fish seem to, for her. So that's about it. Thanks for watching. I'll probably swing back around, and once they start to color out, the males start to color up, get more blue and black. So if you want to see that, please click that subscribe button. And thank you. Should be putting on a new video on a tank stand build here shortly, in the next week or so. It's taking a little longer than I expected it to take. Once you have a child, things seem to take longer. So thank you again. See you next time.